Hello there. Welcome yet again to another edition of the program Mobilizing for Development, as brought to you by Mobilizing for Development, M4D for short. And to our dear viewers and listeners, it's good to know that I'm privileged to have this gentleman in the studio once again this week. And the topic we'll be looking at is grants. And as you all know, every week we come with a topic as one of the major focus for Mobilizing for Development. Today, the guest in the studio, I have the privilege to introduce Malan Salisu Ibrahim, who is the Executive Director, Life Education Training Center for Persons with Disabilities in Kaduna State. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
It's also my pleasure to introduce Malan Lawan B. Ahmad. He's the Project Manager, Popular Theatre and Health Education Association from Jigawa State. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much.
All right, and last but not the least is Mariam Garba Usman, is the Executive Director of the organization Center for Advocacy in Gender and Social Inclusion, CACSI, from Kano State. You're welcome.
The pleasure is mine.
All right, without much ado now, all my guests are all seated and of course getting ready to begin to give us what it takes to get M4D grants and what are these grants generally. Now let me begin with Salisu Ibrahim. What are M4D grants about?
Once again, our listeners and viewers, good day and nice to meet you on this medium. The M4D grants is a small, money or intervention by M4D to individuals and organizations to actualize their proposed ideas or innovations which was not, put in practice before. And this grant is of different types. For example, there is discretionary grants and innovative grants. What we are talking today is innovative grants. The innovative grants is a grant bring up by M4D to receive proposals from individuals and organizations, as mentioned earlier, for improving, developing, and supporting, communities who consider to either be marginalized or in need of health, medically, educationally, and other aspects.
All right, let me quote you there. Mariam, is he speaking your mind?
Yes, he is. But grants to me is regarding to M4D is the supports given by M4D to organizations in order to actualize their ideas or whatever they brought about in the development aspect.
Okay, support,
yes.
Financial support, right?
Yes, financial support.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a financial support that M4D gave to individuals and groups to bring out what they have in common, to see how they can support their people or groups at the community level.
All right, small token given by M4D for these people to be able to bring out their hidden talent for the benefit of the people in their various communities. Mariam, then what are the criterions to actually assess or perhaps these loans or grants generally?
M4D sets some certain criteria in giving out grants, like each organization has to bring about the proposal first, show how the idea can be sustained after that grant, and also the exit plan, that's even the sustainability. After the organization, like my organization, CACSI, implemented certain projects with the support of M4D.
All right, we are coming on to
yes, so
see
how
projects.
can that project will be sustained after M4D and CACSI within the community, both the citizens and the government?
All right, the criterion basically is to see the viability of your project and sustainability if at the end of the day M4D is living.
Yes.
All right, so again, I'm back to you. The criterion, is it the same thing you are enjoying, you from Kaduna State, for instance?
Yes, it is, but maybe the addition to what my colleague has mentioned is that the grant was advertised on national dailies and M4D's website.
Okay.
So after application, all these criteria, as mentioned earlier, are considered important, and after the fulfillment of the above mentioned requirements, then a candidate or a proposal can scale to.
Okay. So it is not that M4D went handpicking who will be the beneficiaries. It was actually advertised on national dailies. You guys applied, and you were called upon, probably followed the necessary interview, and you got the grant.
Yes.
Now, let me quickly go back to Marlon. What does M4D expect as direct outcome of the grants for beneficiaries, let's say after 1 year?
Yeah. What M4D is expected from either the community or the civil society organizations after a year is to have a complete response from the community members and the people in power that can
the policy
makers that have agreed to listen to the common man, to understand his problem and then solve it within a short period of time.
Okay, that's the expectation
Yes,
of M4D.
yeah, that is it.
Let's say after 1 year.
Yeah.
Mariam,
There's a line, the responsiveness of the service providers, that's the policy makers and the service providers, and also the satisfaction from the side of the citizens, which are the demand sides. So they demand for service from the service providers, and the service providers provide those services. So the satisfaction and the responses from the service providers.
Yeah.
Yes, I know very well that when you are given a grant, much is expected, right? What will be the evidence that a grantee has actually managed the grants well? Let me come back to you, Mano Salis.
The evidence are much. Firstly, as mentioned now, M4D, the whole idea of M4D is supporting, working and intermediary or intermediating between the supply and demand sides.
Yes.
That is service providers, policy makers and the governors. So when you applied and successfully selected to benefit from, these grants, the evidence is that comparison between where community or the beneficiaries community of the grants were before the grants and where are they now. And there are some, criteria and evidence that you proposed in earlier proposal that you are conducting this activity. You set indicators. So, fulfillment and changes in that indicators are some of the evidence that the grant is well managed.
Okay. I don't know if Mariam will want to add to that. We were looking at evidences that these grants are well utilized.
Yes, in evidence, he mentioned the changes between maybe the service providers changed the way of governance, like contacting or consulting the community before making any development aspect towards those community. And the community responds by demanding for service.
All right.
So these are some part of the changes, and what he said is in line with your activities towards the proposal, what you are expected to do with your monitoring and evaluation plan.
Yeah.
So there are some things that you might propose to do, and a real aspect when you come to implement your project, it might not be necessary there, or there should be some changes about what you propose. So the way you communicate with M4D, telling them this is what you found on ground and this was what you were expecting to meet there. So it's part of it, because you are using what they gave to get the result and changing the ways you need to consult them and inform them what you experience at the field and where you want to divert the resources towards
another area.
Yes.
Well, Marlon, let's deviate a little bit.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about these grants by M4D and so on. Now, how did M4D access your competence? The competence to manage the grants even before giving it out?
Okay. In the first instance, after all the process has been made by M4D, a visit was made by the M4D to our offices at our offices level to ascertain whether we have managed some grants before.
Okay.
And then we were found very well in terms of managing some grants, and then maybe like our financial retirements are well. Program aspect, we have done very well in the other projects, and then that is some part of how we scale the M4D grants to be given to us. Yes.
Okay, Marcellus, maybe you want to add more?
Yeah, I would like to add more.
All right.
The assessment are on different stages. Firstly, as mentioned earlier, you put in a proposal, that is application that you are applying for this. So after going through by M4D and selected those who considered to be, relevant to the outputs of M4D, then the M4D went through to physical visits to assess your capacity as either organizations or individual, both financially, structures, and other what have you. Then on the third stage, M4D organized pre-proposal workshop, that is free grants workshop, to those considered to be eligible and complying with the criteria. There are difference between paper and reality.
Yeah.
So when you put in proposal that you are intending to do that, you are in a position to do this, M4D will assess by visiting physical or assessment visit to our different offices where we are working. Then after that, the essence of that workshop after the assessment is to come together, bring together the applicants and the M4D officials to review or revise your individual applications. Where it needs guidance, M4D give the guidance to comply with the 5 outputs that M4D is working.
All right. Let me come back to Mariam. Now, earlier on, we actually talked about what MDX is expecting after 1 year. So after 5 years, what is MD expecting from you guys?
What M4D is expecting after the 5 years, we are talking about the impact of M4D's projects as a whole. M4D has their 5 outputs, and these grants comply with this output. Each grant has the output it's speaking to.
All right.
If you are speaking about persons with disability, in the next 5 years, the impact is we need to see change in livelihood of persons with disability.
Now we are talking about social gender inclusion.
Yes. And if you are talking about governance, participation, it should be there will be a system that will address participation in governance.
Next 5 years.
Yes, in the next 5 years. A system that whichever government is there in place, it has to implement this aspect where citizens would participate in whatever aspect government is doing towards their development. All activities should come from the citizens, not from the service providers alone.
Okay. Let me know, Oman Lawan.
Yeah.
Now, before M4D's grant, or perhaps did you guys leverage on other fund sources?
Yeah, basically, no.
Okay.
Because as at the time when M4D met us and then went into the activities, we are only concerned on the citizens to understand where we want them to be. Because take for example, educational level of our girl child at the community level is very, very poor. So our concern that very time is for the community people to understand the importance of girl child education, and then to reduce hawking, to increase attendance at the primary school level.
Okay.
That is what we embark on.
All right, let us look at probably an area of impact now. In what way does M4D grants contribute to making citizens articulate their demands for better accountability and governance? Now, Salis.
In so many ways. But to mention a few is that as a result of M4D's intervention, citizens, in particular persons with disabilities, are come to understand their, dignity, their scope and limitations, and they are now capable to create and present well-articulated demands to the policymakers and service providers. And more importantly, as a result of that, policymakers are more responsive to such demands. And it is my pleasure to share with you in this studio that as a result of that M4D's intervention, people with disabilities for the first time have the capacity and the strength to understand that media organizations, radio and television in particular, can be used to address and to voice out their concerns and interests. In last year, 2016, during the International Day of Persons with Disabilities, ever in the history in Kaduna State, for example, people with disabilities enjoyed free or discounted, airtime by media, both radio and television stations, to voice out their demands, their concerns, and their interests. So I think M4D hugely impacts the lives and of people with disabilities in particular by making them to understand the meaning and preciousness of their lives.
All right, Marlon, I think let's move on to the next question. How do the grants help policymakers to become responsive and accountable to citizens, especially girls and persons with disabilities?
Yeah, this is very large. Government before the M4D intervention were not able to listen to the citizens on their demands, but presently M4D uses its own outputs to use the government to address what is going on between the citizen and the government. Now government can listen to the issues of the citizens and then address it by organizing series of meetings, like Mariam has said earlier on. Through that, the government now understand there are a lot of things that is based on the government to handle for the citizens. So government really now have handled citizens' issues and then working towards it.
Now, Mariam, let's look at one issue, and that is how does this grant, if we look at it, how effective is M4D grants towards improving standards of living?
Actually, I can say excellent, because initially we have a lot of projects from donor agencies, international agencies, but M4D is a kind of unique project that goes down to the grassroots. Most projects are within the state level and beyond the reach of people at the grassroots. So it goes down to the grassroots. It works with the local organizations, the local government areas, because local government are most closer to the citizens than the state government. And what M4D did is, because we're in a political era now, everyone can be a leader, whether you have the capacity to be or not. So M4D tries to initially identify some key influential leaders within the local government, build up their capacities, and also shows them how to govern using participatory governance, so that they can interact peacefully with their community. And also the most effective aspect is I keep emphasizing on budget, because budget is the key to development. So using this open budget system, M4D linked up the citizens with the local government, which leads to like a policy in Kano State now, the open budget policy. No local government budget will be approved without consulting its citizens, that without conducting a town hall meeting before the budget, and also presenting the budget to the community before taking it for approval. There are a series of evidence, depends on what the ministry wants to see as evidence for these activities. So these are some key aspects M4D did, and if you compare the policymakers and service providers of M4D local government and the non-M4D local government, the capacity gap is huge, because I was privileged to participate in budget defense for local government. The way M4D local government were able to depend their budget line is far beyond the other local government, because some has to drop some budget line because they cannot defend it properly. But the M4D local government has to attract some increment because they specify their line items, like this is for persons with disability, this is for girls, this is for women, instead of women alone, like it has been done as tradition. So it's now a policy that each local government has to clearly specify PWD's line items in their budget.
All right, thank you very much, Mariam. Marsalis, let's begin to look at M4D winding up, and we are looking at sustainability. Earlier on, Mariam did talk about ownership. So in Kaduna State, how are you guys getting or preparing for this is how we're going to roll on even after M4D is gone?
This is interesting. I like this question, and as mentioned much earlier, that is from the beginning of this discussion, sustainability plan is one of the requirements in your initial application or proposal to M4D.
Good to know.
So firstly, you need to specify your plan of sustainability, sustaining the project. And before coming to sustainability plan in Kaduna State, for example, all what M4D is doing is a responsibility of governments or individuals, that is indigenous Nigerians who are in capacity. But M4D alone is coming to do it, which I think it is reasonable enough for the grantees to initiate ways to sustain what M4D supported them to do. So in Kaduna State, for example, we have, like my project, focused on persons with disabilities. And what we focused on was education, life education, where communication, leadership, public presentation, and other key aspects like independent living techniques were built. So we finally understand that whatever you do without means to make people independent financially, economically, and whatever may not be of huge success. So what we are planning now is that we are planning to, as a sustainability plan, life education forum, whereby our weekly classes will be sustained. Then computer and internet cafe, where Braille should be, should be taught to individually impaired, where we are making photocopies and other computer training and internet, activities like that as a means to generate income. Then, as a final note before, we are going to establish cooperative societies, whereby people participated in this project who have new ideas or existing ideas to make their life independent by engaging in productive venture will be given out mini loans payable in different duration, like beginning from 3 months to 1 year.
All right, thank you very much. Again, Mariam, let's look at other beneficiaries of such grants from M4D, like yourself. What advice will you be giving them?
The advice I would like to give them is, we know M4D is winding up, and this CSO, civil society organization, exists with or without M4D. We should use the contact we made using the M4D grants, the activities, because I did the activities on budget, and I'm done with that activity. So I can't say I'm not into budget anymore. If somebody comes for guidance along with budget, I cannot say I'm done with M4D budget project. I don't have funding. I can assist technically with or without any monetary resources. So we should be able to keep on what we have been doing and try to innovate in more ideas.
Right, innovate in more ideas. If you want to advise other beneficiaries of such grants.
Currently, what we have put in place for the beneficiaries to continue enjoying the benefits of M4D is, after forming community pressure groups at the community level, who will be looking at all sites, like in the primary school where we work on the returning or increasing the attendance of girl child at the primary school level. We initiated, together with the community levels, that pressure groups should be formed and work tirelessly to be touching the government, the politicians at high level, and then at the local government level, so that they can leverage resources within themselves and see how they can sustain our girls' child education. Secondly, currently women were empowered with little finances, whom we are now monitoring on savings and loans. These savings and loans groups we are forming at the community level. Definitely it will sustain this project, because if you give a woman 10,000 naira, that 10,000 naira after 2 years you will come and find it has become 11,000. So we agree that if this money can be used to be making the savings at the end of every week, then after 3 months they make the share out. Honestly, this our girls can be supported at primary school level by the women at homes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, when you check it, you definitely know that our time is already up, and this is where we need to draw curtain on the program for this week. All right. On behalf of the entire production crew, and I want to say again, thank you very much for joining us, and to our esteemed viewers and listeners out there, in case you want to have to join us by sending any other further information you may seek, please, you can send or direct your SMS to 08069087547. I repeat that number again. For any information, further information, you can send SMS. Please do make sure you don't call that number, 08069087547. Once again, on behalf of the entire production crew, my name is Zachary Yusuf. Until next week, do join us then.